If I told you there was a place where grown adults spend their whole day obsessing over teenagers' shoulders, knees, and feet, you'd probably think I was describing some weird cult or Diddy's house. But nope, I'm talking about school. Because apparently, even with all the problems that exist at school, bathrooms that look like they haven't been cleaned since the Cold War, kids smoking Smarties, the thing schools have decided to focus on is making sure that no one can see your shoulders. School dress codes are genuinely insane, and today, I'm breaking down the most ridiculous ones, and how funny the difference between dress codes for girls is versus boys. Let's start out with what might be the freakiest dress code of all time, the war on shoulders. I genuinely need to know who looked at a human shoulder one day and thought to themselves, yeah, if we let a girl walk into school showing these off, no boys are going to be able to focus. Because schools will literally pull students out of class mid-lesson, all because they're wearing a tank top. And the excuse is always the same. It's distracting to the other students. Distracting who? Who is sitting in algebra getting distracted by shoulders? Has anyone in the history of school ever been like, you know, I was trying to do the quadratic formula, but then I saw Sarah's shoulders and now I can't focus? No. That has never happened. Not once in human history, except to my homie Greg, because he has a weird shoulder fetish. But leave him out of this. Here's where it gets even more ridiculous though. Some schools have dress code violation shirts that they make you wear if you break the rules. And the funny thing about it is, I remember being in middle school one time, and it was like 95 degrees outside. The AC barely worked inside our schools. And by barely worked, I mean we didn't have AC. So the classrooms felt like saunas. Everyone is sweating. And on one of these brutally hot days, a girl in my class wore a tank top. Makes sense, right? The classrooms are super hot. She's not trying to have a heat stroke while learning about the Revolutionary War. Seems like a reasonable decision for a human being that's trying to survive. But nope. She gets told by her teacher that her shirt violates our school dress code, and she needs to go to the office to get a new shirt that's appropriate. So she embarrassingly does the walk of shame out of class and goes to the office. And a couple minutes later, she comes back with this giant, oversized t-shirt that says dress code violation on it. But here's the best part. The shirt they gave her was so big and baggy that it kept falling off her shoulder. So she got dress coded for showing her shoulders, and the punishment was putting on a shirt that showed even more of her shoulders. The shirt they give you is literally meant to shame you. They're out here making kids wear the educational equivalent of a dunce cap, all because they're showing their shoulders. And the part that sucks about this is everyone knows that school isn't about learning or anything like that. No, the main purpose of school is to show off your best outfits. So when you gotta go from being dripped out in your Prada t-shirt to wearing an XXXXL gym shirt, that's devastating. So if you don't want to get dress coded for showing your shoulders, well, wear something to just cover it up, right? Well, no, because here comes the second most ridiculous dress code rule of all time, which is the hoodie. For some reason, schools are absolutely terrified of hoodies, like genuinely scared. Schools act like you putting your hood up is the equivalent of pulling out the ray gun from Call of Duty. I remember one time, a kid in my class literally got detention for just putting his hood up. The same punishment you'd get for skipping class or cheating on a test. And why is this dress code a rule in the first place? Security reasons, because they need to see your face, right? But what does that even mean? Do you think someone is gonna try impersonating another person by putting a hoodie on? I promise you that if a school intruder sneaks onto my campus, putting a hoodie on over their head is not going to be a good enough disguise. Unless all the people working at the school just have the IQ of Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Who are you? A platypus? Parry the platypus!
And they can't recognize someone unless they're wearing their signature outfit. Banning hoodies in school was genuinely my least favorite dress code though, because when I was growing up, my mom would cut my hair. And mom, if you're watching this, I love you. But there would be some days where she'd give me a haircut and my hairline was the same angle as an airplane taking off. I'd have to tilt my head like this just for it to be straight. So I came to school so many times with my hair looking absolutely cooked. I couldn't walk into school showing it off. So what was the only solution? Put a hoodie on. But the teachers would always get mad when I did this and tell me to take it off. So from that point on, whenever I got a bad haircut, I would just fake a sickness and not go to school. But here's the funny part. It got so bad at my school that they literally banned hoodies, yet they sold hoodies inside the gymnasium with the school logo on them. So they were literally selling hoodies and telling you that you can't wear them at school. You could only wear long sleeves that didn't have a hood on them. We talked about how my school had no AC, but it also had no heating. And they would enforce this rule even when it was freezing inside. It's 40 degrees in class, everyone's shivering, and yet teachers are still in class pulling hoods off everyone like they're playing Duck Duck Goose, trying to reveal who has the worst haircut. Now this next dress code is one that I actually don't mind because I think they're incredibly ugly, but still, it makes no sense for them to be banned. What am I talking about? Ripped jeans. Now don't get me wrong, I think ripped jeans, along with jorts, might be the worst clothing invention ever created. And while I do think they should be banned from anyone in society at all being able to wear them, I don't understand why schools ban them. Because at least at my school, they had these hyper-specific rules about ripped jeans. It was like, the holes in your jeans can't be longer than 2 inches in diameter, or it couldn't be ripped above the knee, which, if I'm being honest, I don't even know how you measure diameter, so I wasn't gonna listen to this. But who even decided this? points? Is there a ripped jean council out there that's making these decisions? All right, team, we've done the research. 1 inch in diameter of ripped jeans? Perfect. 1.5 inch in diameter of ripped jeans? Okay. 2 inches? You're pushing it. 2.5 inches? Send them to Alcatraz. And the way they'd enforce this rule was even more ridiculous. Teachers at my school would literally crouch down in the hallway and measure your jeans. They look like detectives investigating a murder scene. They get on their hands and knees, pull out a ruler, and measure the size of the hole in your jeans. Like, bro, you're a 45-year-old man measuring a teenager's pants in the middle of the hallway. Does this not seem a little weird to you? If you did this in any other setting, you'd be getting a restraining order. Maybe if the teachers focused more on teaching me in class and not examining everyone's jeans, I would have turned out to be a doctor and not someone who makes 6'7" and oil up jokes on the internet. Okay, no, I still definitely would have done that, but maybe someone else would have been a doctor. Well, guess what, Tyler? I have the solution. If school dress codes are so bad, why don't we just make everyone wear the same thing? Why don't we just have school uniforms? That's a great idea in theory, but somehow school uniforms are even worse. Because uniforms are supposed to be the great equalizer, right? Everyone's wearing the same thing, so you couldn't possibly have something on that violates the dress code. It's fair, except that's not true. Because even with school uniforms, kids will still find a way to customize it. They'll wear expensive shoes, designer belts, crazy backpacks, and if you have school uniforms, you're probably going to a private school, which means your parents are probably loaded, so I know you guys are dripped out. Making people wear school uniforms is like putting a band-aid over a broken leg and calling it fixed. I had a friend who went to private school where they had to wear school uniforms, and he would literally sag his pants. How did he sag in dress pants? The world may never know, but he did it. Point is, no matter what you do, you can't stop people from getting their drip on. The hilarious part about all these dress codes is how teachers will try to enforce them. Like, I don't know if this was just my school or if everyone had it, but we had something called the fingertip rule. For those who don't know, the fingertip rule is when you have to stand up straight, put your arms at your side, and your shorts or your skirt had to be longer than how far your fingertips go. Sounds reasonable, right? Wrong, because I know a lot of you probably think that I'm just a floating head who doesn't actually have a body, but to your surprise, I actually do have limbs. And for some reason, I have really long arms and not that long of a torso. I'm built like Peter Griffin in that one Family Guy episode where he for some reason becomes a woman. So if I put my hands down to my side, they almost go all the way to my knees, which means for me, I literally couldn't wear anything that was above my knees. And this was a problem because I like wearing shorter shorts. Now, I'm not talking Drewski length short shorts, but a couple inches above the knee. But unfortunately, my Slenderman arms made it so that I could only wear long shorts to school every day. It was tragic. Who knows how many missed relationships I had in high school just because the girls didn't like my outfits. That's definitely not the reason I didn't have a girlfriend in high school. But anyway, point is, this rule makes no sense at all. Like, I knew one kid who was born without a left arm. So does that mean he could have pulled up to school every day without wearing any shorts on his left leg and not been dress coded? The funny thing is that I'm pretty sure this rule was made specifically for girls, but instead they had to enforce it on me because I like showing off those pasty legs. And speaking of dress codes that were made specifically for girls, we need to talk about the most obvious one that no one mentions. Dress codes for boys versus dress codes for girls. Because let me paint you a picture of what the dress code enforcement actually looks like inside schools. I remember one time in school, it was disgustingly hot. And like I said, our AC was trash. And this girl in my class wore a shirt that looked just like this. Teacher saw that, shook her head right away, and went, absolutely not. You know the rule. Go to the office and get a shirt that doesn't violate the dress code. And I'm thinking, yeah, this rule is stupid, but come on, you know the rules by now. You probably shouldn't have worn that shirt knowing that. Until I turn my head 90 degrees and see a guy from the football team. What is he wearing? A tank top with a hole so big that you could see his full stomach through. Rib cage and everything. Looks like it hasn't been washed in 6 weeks. Has a mystery stain on it, which I don't want to know what that was. His tank top revealed more than a girl's Halloween costume. Yet the teacher didn't say anything. Matter of fact, the teacher literally went up to him and started asking him questions about the football game that week. I saw him wear that shirt about once a week to school without ever having a problem. Yet the girl had to go to the office and spend the rest of the day with pit stains from wearing a shirt that was made for Shaquille O'Neal. It's like schools have two completely different rule books. One for girls that's 38 pages long with subsections and a bunch of bullet points and footnotes and diagrams. And then there's the one for boys, and this one just says, hey, you do you, twin. Here's a list of things girls get dress coded for. Showing your shoulders. Shorts are too short. Wearing leggings. Shirts too tight. Shirts too loose. Ripped jeans with a hole the size of a quarter. Wearing the color neon yellow. I'll explain that one later. And here's a list of things boys get dress coded for. Showing up naked. That's it. That's the end of the list. And I know what you guys are thinking. Tyler, you're just catering towards the girls because you want them to like you. And you know what I say to that? How dare you accuse me of that? Because I, a 6'5" feminist who loves Taylor Swift, matcha, and whatever else girls like, Pilates, but I would never cater towards the girls. Now, I've made a list of some ridiculous dress codes that you guys told me exist at your school. So let's rapid fire through the most random ones. No pajama pants, because apparently it's a crime to be comfortable while you're failing algebra. No bandanas. When I asked this person why bandanas weren't allowed at their school, they said it's because the school thinks it's gang related. What kind of school are you going to that has gang members in it? Degrassi High School? I've never actually watched that show, but I'm guessing it's a dangerous school since Drake got shot in it. Just so everybody knows, guys, if you wear a bandana, you are in a gang. It's not your choice. That's just how it works. Next rule, no sunglasses. students, even when the sun is literally blinding you. Why? I don't know, maybe because they think students are hiding something behind their eyes. My one question with this rule is, does it also apply to blind students? This next one is crazy. No graphic tees. Some schools ban all graphic tees, even if they're completely appropriate. You could be wearing a t-shirt that says, I love puppies, and it would still get dress coded. I would have just had to drop out if this was at my school, because that would have meant I couldn't wear my I love LeBron shirt to school every day. Next one, no distracting colors. I'm not even joking. Apparently some schools ban wearing neon shirts because they're too distracting. Honestly though, I agree with this one, because whenever I was in school, I could not focus if I saw someone wearing a neon shirt. But then I graduated kindergarten. So after all this, you might be wondering, why do dress codes even exist? What's the point? Well, after doing my research, experiments, and testing, I have found out the true reason why dress codes exist. And did I just put glasses on to look smart while I was saying I did research? Who cares? Mind your business. But here's the real reason dress codes exist. It's never been about wearing inappropriate clothes that make it hard for boys to concentrate. If that were the case, sandals would have been banned a long time ago, because let's be real, ladies and gentlemen, we all love feet. Am I right? No? Okay, I got a little carried away there, sorry. But anyways, what school dress codes is really about is the teachers. What do I mean by that? Well, I have a theory that dress codes are put in place because the teachers are getting distracted, not the students. So let me know what the craziest dress code rules are at your school. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go put on a hoodie, some ripped jeans, a tank top with my whole shoulder showing, and a neon yellow hat. And I'm gonna wear it all at the same time because I can.